welcome to today's town hall meeting on credible investment opportunities for 2022. This meeting is organized by Afrinvest Securities Limited, a subsidiary of Afrinvest West Africa Limited. My name is Treasury Okuku, and I'll be your host for today. The aim of this town hall meeting is to open our eyes to available investment opportunities. It is important to us that we don't fall prey of dubious investment advisors and scammers. Please note that there will be a recorded version of this available on our YouTube channel after this meeting. So if you miss anything, not to worry, you can go back and check it. We can also begin to drop our questions, suggestions, and comments in the chat box. This will be attended to towards the end of this town hall meeting. Our first speaker is a member of the Afrinverse Securities team. He's a certified trader in the stock market. His name is Kehinde Lamilisa. He will be speaking to us about investment opportunities in the stock market. Over to you, Kehinde.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the introduction, Treasurer. Quickly, we'll be talking about key elements to consider when investing in the equities market. But first, what is really equities? What is it to invest in the stock market? Stock is a type of investment that indicates a fractional share of ownership in a company. That is, when you buy a unit of share of a particular company, you become part of the owners of the company and thus be referred to as shareholders. So in the course of this webinar, you would hear me use the word shareholder more often. So when investing in the equities market, you want to first get your strategies right. And one of the strategies that you might consider is choosing between value and growth stocks. For value stocks, essentially, it's taking decision in the market based on fundamentals such as company financials, business prospects, and valuations. Value investing is about being a bargain hunter, essentially, on solid fundamental stocks. The bargain hunters basically compare what they refer to as fair value to what the company is currently trading on maybe an exchange, like the Nigerian Stock Exchange, for example. So if you feel that the price that the stock is trading on the exchange is higher than your fair value, you might consider that stock as being overpriced. And if you have it in your portfolio, it might be the time to sell. Or if you don't currently have it, you stay off those particular stock. And on the other hand, if you feel that, okay, the price that the stock is trading on the exchange is lower than what you regard as the fair value or the intrinsic value, as we like to call, then it's then a buy. It's then a buy, so you expect that the market, as time goes on, price it effectively. Then, value stocks are typically associated with, like I said, buying on the value stock and selling over value stock. So for growth investing focuses on stocks that are expected to significantly outperform the market in terms of share price growth over a long term. There are companies that are believed to have enormous potentials. These potentials may stem from their innovative business models, breaking into new markets, or offering new products and services. Those companies that are referred to as growth companies may not pay dividend in the short term, and that is because they are in the phase of growth. Many times, these companies plow back the profits that they've made into expanding their business or going into new business units. Growth stocks, it's also very important to know that growth stocks are not necessarily small companies, as many people think. There are big companies that also are in the phase of growth. And it's important to identify those stocks and position well, because there are stocks that the value increase significantly over time. So broadly speaking, value stocks are companies that are currently trading below their worth and might likely provide a superior return, while growth stocks are companies that have potential to outperform the market over a long time. Other strategies in the market can be positioning in large cap and small caps. But in investing in equities, you should also understand that it is different to other kind of investments, especially those ones that have fixed expectations. So that brings us to identifying our risk appetite. Equities investment or investing in stock could be very volatile. That is, the price could go up or down at any point, usually determined by the forces of demand and supply, and also investor sentiment, news in the market, essentially. So if you're an investor with not so much of the risk appetite, and you still want to invest in the equities market, it's very important to note that you should go for stocks that are less volatile. That is, the price move less frequently than others. Also, as part of the characteristics of the stock market, it is a capital equities. Investing in equities is a capital market investment, and that means it's investing for a long term. So there are times when the equities market provide quick opportunities, but the nature of equities in itself is for long term. So when you are investing in equities market, it's important to invest cash that you don't need in the immediate, so that you can not sell in panic, and also wait till your stock or the company that you bought the stock has appreciated, or you've earned some dividend on the stock to modify your return. So on that, I would talk a little more briefly on return modifiers. Usually, we think that the only way we can make money in the stock market is when the price of our stock appreciates. But there are other things that could modify our returns. One of it is dividend paid in form of cash, which is more common to us. So when dividends are basically paid from the company's profits. So when a company makes profit, for example, or declares profits, the management then can decide to pay dividend to the owners of the company, that is the shareholders, and the proceed from that is a return to investor. Also, there are other companies that from time to time issue bonus dividend, issue bonus shares, and that's like dividend paid that is not necessarily in form of cash. So these bonus issues are like additional return to investors, and also modify investors' position. Then there are other return modifiers like rights issues, and also currency. Let's move on, please. Then investing in the equities market, essentially through us in Afrinvest, is basically zero balance. There's no minimum requirement to investing with us in Afrinvest. So we've created, So we've made investments very easy for our investors by creating a platform where investors can basically execute their own trade and also monitor their trade by themselves. So you can download our Afrinvestor app, or visit www.afrinvestor.com to create an account. Where on the app or the web platform, you can completely set up your account and also provide your KYC document, after which a CSCS account will be created for you. Please note that the CSCS is the central depository for central depository and clearing system for the Nigerian capital markets. So unlike before, where you buy shares and you are issued a share certificate, these days your shares are held electronically in a CSCS account. And when you're also selling, the shares are taken from the CSCS account and credited to the buyer's account, and your fund also transferred to you respectively. So you can just begin trading, and you receive your contract notes as you trade. So it basically, investing in equities is that simple and straightforward. But as the webinar goes on, I'm sure there will be questions, and we will also dive better into it. So I'll hand off to Treasurer to continue the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kende. That was very insightful. I hope we're taking notes. It takes zero balance to be able to create an account with Afrinverse, so you don't need any money at all. And then we'll be happy to walk you through the process. Please be reminded that you can begin to drop your questions, your suggestions, or just comments in the chat box. We'll be happy to answer them towards the end of this meeting. Our next speakers are Bolanle Sani and Judith Osemeke. Bolanle Sani is the head of Afrinvest Securities Limited Abuja branch, while Judith Osemeke is a member of the Afrinvest Securities Limited team. These are two professionals that will be speaking to us today about investment opportunities in the fixed income market. We'll be beginning with Bolanle. Please go ahead, Bolanle.
Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. I'm glad to be on this call. I'll be speaking about fixed income and commercial paper. I've been in the system for over a decade. If you're looking for the safest and most secure form of investment, so you should look at investing in Treasury bills because it is backed up by the full faith of the federal government of Nigeria. I'm going to start with the success story of a Treasury bills. Assuming you invested 40 million for 364 days, when rate was like 16%, you will get like 6.2 million or 6.5. I'm pretty sure there's no bank that can give you such interest. So why would you prefer to invest your money in an unsecured investment when Treasury bill notes have boosted many people's wealth? So going to the Treasury bill also known as TBs, are the debt instrument issued by the federal government of Nigeria by the Central Borrowing Fund or budget deficit. A means by which the federal government borrows from the public on a short-term basis from the money market. It confirms that government indebtedness to the holder for a specific period of time, usually 91 days, 182, and 364 days. So investing in Treasury bill is risk-free compared to other forms of investment. It is also very liquid and can be converted to quick cash and are sold at discounted rates. Treasury bills are sold in primary and secondary markets, where primary is the first auction by CBN, and secondary market is where investors who wish to sell off their holdings and exit the market. You can invest as low as 100,000 in the secondary market, while the primary market, the minimum is 50 million. What did I say? 100,000 naira. So you don't need to have big money, you don't need to have millions, you don't need to have billions before you can invest in Treasury bill. One good thing about investing in Treasury bill is that the interest earned is not taxable and it is paid upfront and credited to your account, to your bank account. What do I mean? When you invest your money in Treasury bill, you can earn your interest upfront. And this interest can be used for another thing. You can even reinvest your interest in the secondary market. If you're investing in primary market and you're investing like 50 million, like 40 million, I said, when rate was like 16%, and you're getting like over 6 million naira, you can still invest this 6 million naira. You're getting like 6 million, you can still invest this 6 million naira for another tenure in secondary market, maybe like 1 month, and you still earn interest on it. Fantastic. You see how that Treasury bill is good. So I'm going to be taking us through the benefit again of investing in Treasury bill. In Treasury bills are safe and risk-free as the federal government of Nigeria gives assurance of full redemption at maturity. Treasury bills are good investment for people who wish to save. You want to save your money quick, you can pick Treasury bills to save your money. Treasury bills are the best investment option for you for your free and disposal cash. Like my friend called me, some of my friends come and customers say, oh, Bola, this year we want to start doing something good. And we are not ready to put our money in this unsecure product, all these scammers out there. And I told them, Treasury bill is one of the best investment options. Put your money, go and sleep with your two eyes. You get your interest. You can get it upfront or you get it at maturity. But you can be rest assured that your money is safe. Treasury bills can be used as collateral security for purchase transaction. What do I mean? You can use your Treasury bill to take loan. When you invest your Treasury bill, you can take the letter, your certificate, to take loan for another thing you want to do. Maybe you want to buy a car from a dealer, you can use your Treasury bill certificate as a collateral. Interest earned from Treasury bills are not subject to tax. I said in my introduction that it's not subject to tax. So why not go into Treasury bill? Customers are free to choose the tenor and interest rate suitable for them in the secondary market, because the secondary market has different tenors. In fact, you have like more than 4 to 5 tenors. You can choose the tenor that's suitable for you. For examples, we have parents that want to pay school fees and they want to, there's a particular money they have in their bank account. They don't want to put this money in their bank account for SMS debit alert or for maintenance fee. They can lock the money because they are looking at, oh, my children are going back to school, or by the time they get this holiday, they will resume back in September. And you know, September is always, you know, it's a difficult time where parents will be looking for school fees. You can put your money in the Treasury bill where it's safe. By that September, you can choose 90-something days, you can choose 261 days, you can choose the tenor that is best suited to you. It depends on when you need your money. In secondary market Treasury bill, you can lock your money for that period and get your money at the point of maturity. So like I said, T-bills are highly liquid and readily tradable in the secondary market. Some people will say, okay, if I put my money in Treasury bill, can I get it back when I need the cash or when there's urgent need for the cash? Yes, you can get your money back. You can trade, you can advise, you can inform just give your brokers or your bank an instruction to sell your Treasury bill for you in secondary market, and you get your cash in 28 hours or less than 48 hours. So I'm going to take us through disadvantage that Bola is saying Treasury bill is the best. Does it not have disadvantages? Yes, it does. Disadvantages in Treasury bills, return investment is subject to inflation risk. T-bill rates are a bit low as compared to other investment offering with higher risk. Because it's okay, I have, there's this company that's giving me 20%, there's this company that's giving me 40% return on investment. Why can't I put my money there instead of blocking it in Treasury bill? The risk, the disadvantage in that investing in that Treasury bill is the rate compared to other investments. But you can be rest assured that when you put your money in T-bills, you can sleep with your two eyes. So a conclusion on the T-bills, investing in Treasury bill is the safest form of investment as it requires no risk. It is backed up by the full faith of the federal government of Nigeria. This offers you the opportunity to use the upfront interest payment to settle another financial need. I just mentioned it now. You should visit a bank. If you want to purchase a Treasury bill, how do I buy it? Visit your bank or your stockbroker to purchase your Treasury bills and get something for your investment than leaving your money idle with no gain in the bank with maintenance fee and SMS fee alert. Okay, moving on to the commercial paper now. I would like to take us through the difference between the commercial paper and the T-bills. Commercial paper and Treasury bills are both short-term investments. When you buy one, you are lending money to the issuer of the bill. Money that you get back with interest when the bills mature. The key difference between them stems from the fact that Treasury bills are issued by the federal government, while commercial paper comes from the private sector. So another difference in risk between T-bills and commercial paper is that T-bills are a lower risk investment than commercial bills for one simple reason. It is far less likely that the federal government will default on its debt obligation. No Treasury bills have ever gone into default. Whereas there will always be some company or another going into bankruptcy. Like the private company, they can go into bankruptcy. Commercial bills, on the other hand, are essentially backed up by the reputation of the company that issued them. Investors have only that company's promise to pay back. They will only promise to pay back, but there's nothing to back it up. There's no security on it. So the difference in return between TBs and commercial paper, to get investors to accept higher risk, you have to promise them that a greater potential return. Excuse me. Treasury securities are widely considered the lower risk securities available, so they can give investors a low return. In fact, the rate of return paid by Treasury bills referred to this financial risk. With this, firms that use commercial paper to fund their projects and expansion. So they can use commercial paper to fund their project and expansion. Meanwhile, maturity of commercial paper are not above 270 days. Most firms issue commercial paper as means to avoid higher interest rates from banks or take loan from bank. But then it is only firm with a strong credit rating that the investing public will trust enough to lend them money in form of commercial paper, since it is unsecured. Because instead of the company to go to the bank to go and borrow money at a 30% interest rate to fund their project, they prefer to go to public, to individuals, to institutions, to raise commercial paper at 15% interest, or double digits, or 9%, which is still better for them. Commercial paper issue within the range of rates obtainable in the money market. That means you get to borrow at a rate cheaper than borrowing from the bank. This makes it cheaper to run their operations. By taking risk, you also get an attractive return on your money. What is the minimum amount for commercial paper? Commercial paper minimum subscription is 5 million and multiple of 1,000 thereafter. But in Treasury bill, you can invest as low as 100,000 in the secondary market. Despite a few limitations, this has helped companies overcome their financial crisis. Thank you. I will hand over to my colleague, Judith Osemeke, to take us through the bond.
Thank you, Bolani.
Thank you very much, Bola. That was a very insightful session. I picked up a few things. Thank you to everyone that has been listening so far. So I'll be quickly taking us through the bonds part of the presentation. So let's quickly get into it. What are bonds? Bonds are long-term debt instruments, usually issued by a borrower who is coming to the market, to raise funds for various reasons, such as, project financing, etc. They're called long-term investments because they typically range above a year and can be, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, even up to 30 years, and can also be perpetual. And just like any other loan, a major thing to note when purchasing a bond is the payback ability of the borrower. And this is usually based on the income generation or cash flows from the project that it is being financed for. Okay, so bonds are typically sold in units, 1,000 per unit. And if you notice, I didn't really state whether naira or dollar, because that's typically the pricing, regardless of where you're buying it from. Interest payments are also made semi-annually, and that just means twice a year. So it can be really beneficial to an investor who just wants to keep, a large amount of funds for a while and wants to tailor their expenses according to the interest payments or income from the funds that have been kept away, basically. Moving on to the different types of bonds, we have, and this categorization is based on the issuers, please. We have bonds issued by governments. We have bonds issued by large corporations, state governments, supranationals, etc. And by supranationals, I mean the IMF, World Trade Organization, etc. Bonds issued by the government can also be called sovereign bonds. In Nigeria, we call them FGM bonds, and they're usually considered to be less risky than other bonds because they have the full backing of the government that issues them out. And a worst case scenario would be that, the government central bank would print out money to pay back investors. Of course, this has disadvantages to the economy. On the other hand, corporate bonds are considered to be more risky because they don't have the backing of the government, and they are based on the ability of the corporation to pay back, which is usually dependent on the cash flows of the project that is being financed. So they are usually issued at higher yields than government bonds, and this is to compensate for the elevated level of risk with corporate bonds. Moving on to the different markets, I know that Bola mentioned that T-bills can be purchased either in the primary market or the secondary market, and it's really the same thing for bonds as well. They can be purchased from the primary market or secondary market, and if you're purchasing bonds in the primary market in Nigeria, you would have to have a minimum of 50 million naira, whereas corporate bonds can go at lower minimums, usually at the discretion of the issuer. So it's really possible to have a corporate bond with a minimum of 10 million naira, for example. Okay, so pricing in primary markets is typically straightforward. An investor would just pay for the number of units being purchased. And recall that I said that it goes for 1,000 per unit. Let's say if you're buying 10,000 units of a corporate bond, for example, that would be 10,000 multiplied by 1,000 units, and you just pay your 10 million upfront. And whereas pricing in secondary markets has other factors reflected in them, such as demand and supply, interest, and the interest element as well. So let's quickly discuss some of the key terms that we hear when we speak on bonds. The first one, which is very important, is the indenture. So the bond indenture is just the legal agreement that specifies the terms of the bond that's being issued. So things like the tenor or the number of years the bond will be running, the rates at which it is purchased at, or the coupon rates, etc., and various other elements as well. Okay, next will be face value or nominal value. It usually usually has a lot of questions around it because, so whenever you hear the face value is just the predetermined value when purchasing a bond that an investor expects to receive at maturity. When you hear face value, it's the same thing as nominal value, and it's the same thing as your maturity value. Next will be the relationship between demand, price, and yield. And this is really applicable to secondary markets. Whenever you see that there's strong demand for bonds, you see that prices tend to move higher. And because there's an inverse relationship between price and yield, you see that when prices go higher, yields tend to decline. Next would be coupon. So if you notice, I've been talking about how you get interest payments on bonds that are semi-annual. In the T-bills market, it's just straight up interest that is referred to as, but in the bonds market, it's referred to as your coupon. And it's the rate that the rate that informs how much you're going to get at each payment during the life of the bond. Next, I know I've mentioned really high values for bonds, but there's also a provision for retail investors through the FGN Savings Bonds offer. They are specifically targeted towards retail investors that can purchase them at each offer with a minimum of 5,000 naira. The offer usually comes up on the first week of every month. And another benefit of FGN Savings Bond, aside the fact that it's really for retail investors, is that you can really plan your expenses around the quarterly payments that you receive, which is another key characteristics of FGN Savings Bond, is that you usually get your income on your investments every quarter during the year. So thank you for listening. I'll be handing over to Treasure.
Thank you so much, Judith, for that insightful session. Thank you, Bolanle, as well. You both really did, explain to us what bonds and commercial paper and treasury bills are about. So next, I'm going to be mentioning to us a few other investment tools that Afrinverse Securities Limited has to offer. One, we have a service that we call AfriTrack service. This is a service that allows you to track your stock investments, move your account from one stockbroker to another, collect outstanding dividends, and dematerialize share certificates. We understand that some people bought shares when the world wasn't as digital as it is now. And so they have certificates and they don't know how to go about it. Not to worry. This is one of the things that we specialize in at Afrinvest. We would help you dematerialize those shares. And we know that some people have dematerialized, but they have the dividends, but they don't know how to track the dividends. They don't know how much has been paid by the company that they have shares with. They don't have all of that information. This is another service that we provide. And for some people, they are not very comfortable with the stockbroker that they're using at the moment. You want to use Afrinvest. We would like to have you, join this company. We would like to serve you. And so we could also help you move your account from whichever stockbroking account. It could be a dead house. It could be a company that is still active. We'll be able to move your account from there to here. Another service that we provide, and I've seen a lot of questions in the chat box about this, is Afrinvestor. This is basically an investor's access to his account online. This means that you have access to your account via web or app. Our app is available on iOS and Android. You simply go to Play Store or Google Store and check for Afrinvestor. But if you want to use the web opportunity, you can search www.afrinvestor.com. And then you have access to trading. This means that you don't have to reach out to any member of the team before you trade. You can buy whatever stocks you're interested in and sell as well through that app between the hours of 10 a.m. to 2:15, excluding public holidays and weekends. You can also see your valuation statement. This means that you can see every investment that you have with Afrinvest. You can see how well they're doing. You can see if the investment is gaining some percentage, if the price is going up, and all of that. You get to monitor all of that from the app or on the web. Now, we know that on this call, we have some people that don't have an account with us, but they want to know how to go about it. If you visit our web or our app, you also get to be able to create an account that best suits you. There are a number of options of accounts that you could create. You decide which account works for you and which account you would like to have, and then you can create this account. You also get to monitor stocks. So not only the investments that you have, you get to see how, companies are doing, how their shares are doing before you even buy. So you get some information on the company's shares, how they are doing, to help you make a more informed decision. Please know that this doesn't take the place of us as investment advisors, but it just helps you have all of this information at your fingertips. Afrinvest has a personal financial advisor on investment-related issues. We had our clients ask for this and we listened. We know that a lot of times our clients want to make informed financial decisions. That is what V is there for. V is there to answer all your questions in relation to your finances. V is there to clarify whatever you need to be clarified about your finances. So you can send an email to V at vee@afrinvest.com. I'll take that again. It's vee@afrinvest.com. You can start the email by saying, "Dear V," and then ask your questions, ask for clarification, whatever you need, and we'll be able to answer. Next up, I would like to invite the Managing Director of Afrinverse Securities Limited. Her name is Adedoyin Allen. She would come to speak to us about the business overview of Afrinverse Securities Limited. Over to you, Adedoyin.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining, and good afternoon once again. Thanks to the wonderful presentation from my colleague. I'm sure they've kept you educated and entertained during the course of this session. We appreciate your time and for taking out time to attend this webinar out of your busy schedule. We do not take it for granted. So we've discussed the different investment opportunities that are available. That's the equities, treasury bills, commercial papers, bonds, and we can see the interaction in the question and answer session as well as chat. Thank you so much. That is really encouraging. That means you're paying attention and you're actually thinking about investing. So another level of conversation you'll be thinking of now, okay, if I decide to invest, how am I so sure my investment is safe? And that's why you need to invest through credible investment house like Afrinvest Securities. Afrinvest has been in existence for over 26 years. We would mark our 27th year anniversary this year, and we have track records of professionalism, and we deliver on our promises. We have a very good brand out there. So if you think investment, would be glad to hold your hand through. You have access to diverse qualified professionals. We have people with experience, like Bola said when she was presenting, she has over a decade experience in this industry. I as well have over a decade experience. We have people that are qualified and will be willing to hold your hand through your investment journey. So should you have any questions, any clarifications that we might not be able to answer in this session, because we have a whole lot of questions and answers and chats, we would not intentionally leave out anyone. But if your questions are not answered, please feel free to reach out to us via Treasurer mentioned the v@afrinvest.com. You can send an email to V, your investment party. She'll be glad to attend to you. And we would also, you can send an email to the team, brokerage team at afrinvest.com. We would also be more than glad to answer your inquiries. Thank you and for joining this session. And I hope you learn more things while we go into the Q&A sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adedoyin. That was the Managing Director of Afrinvest Securities Limited. She's the head of the amazing team of professionals that you've been hearing speak since the beginning of this meeting. Now we would move to the question and answer session. We can see questions flooding in and we will take as much as we can. Please understand with us that we might not be able to touch on everything, but like she said, you can send an email to brokerage team at afrinvest.com and we'll be very happy to respond to your email. Please, panelists, I'm going to be directing questions to you as I find them. So let's pay attention. This question goes to Judith. Deborah Olotu says, how will I buy the FGN bonds on the Afrinvest app? Judith? Deborah Olotu wants to know how she will be able to buy FGN bonds on the Afrinvest app.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you for the question. So if you're trying to buy FGN bonds on the app, I know so we're trying to, when the new app is going to be revamped, I know you should be able to purchase it on the bond section in the app. Pending when that is fully rolled out, you can also send an email to the brokerage team at afrinvest.com to just request for the rates that are there. Our rates are also available on our website and on the app as well. So you can just indicate your interest in a specific bond you want to buy. We would look for the maturity for you and then share a breakdown with you so you can confirm and we'll go ahead to purchase it for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judith. I hope that answers your question, Deborah. I'm trying to find a number of questions that have not been answered. So someone says, I tried buying from the app, but it has never gone through. I end up sending an email for it to be done. Kende, can you answer and provide clarification on this? It says, I've tried buying from the app, but has never gone through. I end up sending an email for it to be done.
Okay, please, if you're having difficulty buying shares on our app, it might be because you haven't completed some part of your registration. Please send an email to our team. We'll look into your account and we'll ensure that you're able to trade effectively with it. We'll be expecting your email.
Yes, thank you, Kende. I hope that answers your question. It could be a number of things, but we'll be happy to help you resolve that. I see a number of questions asking if this will be available for you to watch after this. I mentioned at the beginning that you would be able to watch this meeting on our YouTube channel. you can simply check for Afrinvest West Africa Limited, and this will be uploaded there. Someone says, this is Benjamin Ajaraogu. Please pardon my pronunciation if it's not perfect. This question goes to Kehinde again. Benjamin says, can Afrinvest help us with foreign shares such as Apple, Walmart, etc.? Kehinde?
Yes, thank you for that question. A very interesting one at that. Afrinverse Security is licensed by the Nigerian Securities and Exchange Commission, and very well regulated by the Nigerian Exchange to deal on securities in the Nigerian capital market. However, we have a relationship with brokerage firms outside the shores of Nigeria. So you can send us an email. I will be glad to connect you with our business partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Kehinde. This question goes to Bolanle. Shegun says, okay, this is from anonymous attendee. My dad has some old shares with certificates that he wants to dematerialize. How do I go about that? Please.
Fantastic question. What you need to do is to, like in Afrinvest, we are very digital. You can be in anywhere and communicate with us on our email, brokerageteam@afrinvest.com. Then we give you the requirements. What you then, we create a CSCS account and help you to dematerialize those certificates. I hope this answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Bolanle. I see a number of questions asking if there's an option for non-residents of Nigeria to open an account. Yes, there is. You just need to send us an email. Your requirements are a bit different, but it's nothing too out of the ordinary. We'll be happy to have an account for you to trade with. This person says, what role do you play? I assume that's what the person is trying to say. What role do you play in recovery in the event that a commercial paper issuer defaults? This question goes to Adejoyin. I'll take it one more time. What role do you play in recovery in the event that a commercial paper issuer defaults?
Okay, thank you. So for commercial paper issuance, it's usually issued by corporate entities, like So for us in Afrinvest, before we send out emails or notify our client of any commercial paper, we would have done our due diligence. We don't just send out commercial papers from any company. And for commercial paper, we know it's actually risky, and that's why the return is higher than the Treasury bills. So it's just advisable to do your due diligence, read the financial, look at the credit rating before investing in commercial papers. So for us, any commercial paper we send out or we issue out, we must have done our due diligence, and if anything goes bad, Afrinvest would be liable for that. But if you don't invest in commercial paper through us, or you didn't do your due diligence well, at that point, Afrinvest would not be able to assist you in that regard. I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Yes, Adedoyin, I think that's clear enough. Thank you, Adedoyin. This question goes to Judith. The question says, does Afrinvest buy Eurobonds for clients? If done, what is the procedure and minimum subscription? Judith.
Hi, yes. So Afrinvest, our asset management arm actually does Eurobonds investments on behalf of clients. So if you were interested in Eurobond investments, you can route it through us, and we would help reach out to the asset management team to walk you through the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. This would be our final question from the chat box. We're so sorry we can't take all your questions, but please remember that you can send your question to brokerageteam@afrinvest.com, and we'll be happy to take the questions. This final question goes to Adedoyin. The question says, I get your emails, but the minimums are usually in millions. Is there an investment in thousands, or what is the minimum amount you can invest? Adedoyin.
Yes, not all our products are in millions. So we have, in Afrinverse, we don't discriminate. Even with 500 naira, you can invest, would advise. So for equity, if you want to buy even 1 unit of First Bank, for instance, which is 12 naira, you can invest. And we have FGN savings bond that is opened once every month. The minimum amount you can invest in that is 5,000 naira. For our treasury bills, the minimum amount you can invest is 100,000 naira. So we actually don't have only investments in millions or thousands. So please feel free to reach out. Let us know what you have. Would ask a few questions, what your investment horizon is, and we'll be able to guide you.
Thank you, Adedoyin. I want to thank all the panelists that have answered one question or the other. Thank you so much. I still see some questions coming in about the recording. Please, you can always go to our YouTube channel. It's Afrinvest West Africa Limited. You would have access to this meeting. You can watch as many times as you want. If you missed anything, don't worry. You can go back, listen back, and pick what you missed. Now, I'm taking some questions from part of our audience that have their hands raised. So I would like to take the question from Olagoke Balogun. I'm hoping my pronunciation is perfect. Please go ahead with your question. Olagoke Balogun.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon to the presenters and other audience listening. I just want to ask whether Afrinvest acts in public interest. What I mean by public interest is that you may see some danger or some scam looming in the capital markets. And people unknowingly, some people will just go in and put their put in their money. But do you act in public interest to tell people that some of these things are available is a looming danger? Let me give you an instance. Sometimes in 2008 or 9 or 10 thereabouts, Afrinbank made IPO, public offer, initial public offer, and I subscribed. Only for me to realize that just about a month after the bank crashed, I never got anything. In respect of this about 25,000 naira investment. You know what 25,000 naira means in 2008 or 9? So do you act in public interest that you see some people putting some scams, some organizations that inviting people to come and invest in what seems to be a looming danger? Do you act in public interest? That's my question.
Thank you for your question, sir. Kehinde, can you help?
Let me answer that, Treasurer.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Adedoyin.
Okay. Yes. Thanks, Mr. Aguki, and sincere apologies, or do I say apologies? Sorry for that experience. You know, far back in 2008, when that happened, most investors were not so educated, and I'm sure that's equities market, or we didn't have access to so many information. But now we have research materials. Most people, before you invest in any company, you seek their financials, you do your due diligence. So I'm sure for equities and in Afrinvest, we send out stock recommendations. We have a dedicated research team that what they do is study the fundamentals and technical competencies of companies listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So before you buy shares, we have recommendations. You have access to diverse resources before you can trade equities now. And if the investment is now, if you're referring to Ponzi schemes, fixed income, you know, it's not all these investment or this scam we actually have overview of or we know about. And that's the essence of this webinar, to educate investors. If you see anything that is too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. If they're telling you get 50% in 2 hours, 70% in 1 hour, then you should do your due diligence before. You shouldn't even invest in such. You should question and run far. So they are credible investments, and that is why we're having this kind of investment education to educate investors on reliable kind of investment. So I hope I've been able to answer your question too. Yeah.
Okay, if I may add to what Adedoyin has just said, it is also very important that the general public understand that the capital market in Nigeria is highly regulated, and to invest safely, you should pay attention to investment that are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, as they have very strict requirements in terms of approving companies to come and list on the exchange, or release or issue any instruments to the market. So if an instrument is not approved by the SEC, it is most advisable to stay off it, or better still, speak to your investment advisor and be sure that you are making the right investment decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Kende. Mr. Lagoke, does that answer your question? Your hand is still up. Okay, so I have another question here. Mr. Basi Ekpenyong, can you go ahead with your question?
Good afternoon. Hello?
Good afternoon, sir. You can go ahead.
Can you speak up a bit, please?
Yeah,
yes,
thank you very much for this section. It was very rewarding. While one of your colleagues was presenting, he was talking about venture holding, but he did not complete on it. So I just want to have more insight about it.
I'm not sure if anyone heard him, but we're struggling to hear you, sir.
I think he said someone was talking about venture holding. I'm not sure if I heard that correctly as well. He wants someone to elaborate on that. Mr. Bassi, did you say venture holding?
So the venture holding.
The venture.
The venture.
I think that was Judy during her presentation.
It is.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, so I spoke about the bond indenture, and it's just the legal agreement that shows, the terms of the investment that binds the borrower to the investment, basically. That's what I was speaking on. Does that answer your question, sir?
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Ezanya Chike, can you go ahead with your question? Ezanya, are you still here?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to find out somebody that lost his father, and the father has some shares, and he has done a letter of administration and wants to transfer the shares to himself. Maybe he has a CSCS account. How will he go how will the process go?
Okay, so Mr. Chike, you can send us an email at brokerage@afrinvest.com. There are a number of requirements aside your letter of administration that we would need for you to provide. But yes, your father's late shares can be moved from his custody or from his owning to you, but you would need to provide all the requirements. And once we have them, we would approach the registrars on your behalf to be able to do the transmission.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome. There's a question. I see a hand raised. Akim Bello, please go ahead. Please go ahead with your question. Akim Bello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon. Okay, thank you so much. The question has been, I want to talk about the IPO that Mr. Coin did talk about, but I think he has been able to address that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Akim. Mr. Ezeanye Chike, your hand is still up. Please go ahead if you still have another question or a follow-up question. I don't think he does. I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. Your presence is really important to us, and we thank you for coming here. Please don't forget that you can send emails to brokerage.team@afrinvest.com. We are available to answer all your questions, and we'll be able to provide clarifications on whatever you need. I still see some hands coming up. I'm so sorry. We're running out of time, and we want to keep to time. We understand that your time is important. Thank you so much. Remember that you can visit our YouTube channel to watch a playback of this. It will be recorded and saved there. My name is Treasure Okuku, and this meeting was organized by Afrinvest Securities Limited, a subsidiary of Afrinvest West Africa. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a lovely weekend. Bye for now.